There's a significant difference between a man who is simply interested in you and a man who truly envisions you as part of his future. This difference isn't reflected in the flattering words he says or the promises he makes. Instead, it appears in 4 specific behaviors he cannot help but show when he recognizes that you're not just another amazing woman in his life, but the woman who will completely redefine what the future means to him. In this video, I'll reveal the 4 actions the divine masculine inevitably takes when he sees you as his future, why these behaviors are unavoidable even if he wanted to suppress them, and most importantly, what to do if you notice he isn't showing any of them yet. Stay until the end, and you'll also learn the most damaging mistake women make when they finally realize he envisions them as his future, a mistake capable of destroying in days what took months or years to build. The male psyche has been shaped over millennia by evolution and cultural conditioning. Men have been programmed to mentally separate women into 2 categories. There are women who are experiences, adventures, beautiful yet temporary moments. Then there's the one woman who becomes foundational, the woman who integrates so completely into his vision of the future that he cannot imagine building anything meaningful without her. These 2 categories trigger completely different behavioral responses in a man's brain. Responses he doesn't consciously control, arising on an instinctive, primitive level. When a man is only interested, even intensely, part of his mind keeps doors open, maintains options, and keeps one foot outside the relationship, ready to step back if needed. He can feel deep love in this state, but it is always conditional. He may think, let's see how things evolve, or maybe we're compatible in the future. He is present, yet not fully committed at the soul's deepest layers. He is experimenting, testing, evaluating whether you fit the image of a partner he imagined. But when his perception shifts, when he crosses the invisible line where you stop being a possibility and become an inevitability, everything changes. The doors that were open close automatically. Options that once seemed attractive lose their appeal. The foot that was outside the connection steps fully in. He begins acting in ways that reflect this profound internal transformation, even if he doesn't explicitly verbalize it. Recognition that you are the woman of his future does not originate in the conscious mind first. It emerges in the deeper layers of the psyche, in places where language cannot reach and where only actions can express the truth. This internal transformation can take weeks, months, or even years. But when it finally occurs, when something clicks inside him and you move from being an option to becoming inevitable, the changes in behavior are clear to anyone who knows what to observe. The first thing the divine masculine does when he sees you as his future might seem small but is highly revealing. He stops evaluating you. This doesn't mean he stops noticing who you are or paying attention. It means he no longer measures you against external standards. He stops comparing you, either consciously or unconsciously, to other women he's known or could know. He stops checking if you meet the criteria he once thought essential in a partner. Instead, he accepts you as the new standard against which everything else will be measured. You can see this in how he reacts when you make mistakes, show flaws, or act in ways that previously might have made him question your compatibility. Rather than using these moments to judge whether you're the right person, he integrates them into the complete picture he has of you. It's as if his mind no longer asks, "Is she good enough for me?" but instead asks, "How can I build a life with this person exactly as she is?" Before this shift, he might have compared you, even subtly, to ex-girlfriends, idealized notions of romance, or preconceived expectations of a partner. He may have thought, "She's more emotional than I'd like," or "She's not as adventurous as I imagined." These comparison and evaluation thoughts are normal, while he's still deciding if you're the right person. But once he sees you as his future, they disappear. The emotional depth that once felt overwhelming now becomes something he loves about you. The perceived lack of adventure becomes the balance he needs to avoid impulsivity. He stops trying to fit you into pre-existing molds and instead adjusts the molds to match exactly who you are. You notice this change when he stops hinting that you should alter certain things about yourself, stops making passive-aggressive remarks about traits that used to bother him, and stops comparing you to others, whether directly or indirectly. Instead, he begins to defend your unique qualities, even those that aren't considered conventionally desirable. He begins explaining to others why the way you are makes perfect sense, why the traits you consider flaws are actually essential parts of the extraordinary person you are. This shift happens because he stops viewing you through the lens of who he thought he needed and starts seeing you as who you truly are. He decides he would rather build a future with the real you than with any fantasy he once imagined. Here's something crucial many women often don't realize about this first behavior. He can only stop judging you when you stop seeking his approval. As long as you constantly try to prove your worth, show that you meet his standards, or shape yourself into the ideal partner he thinks he wants, you keep the evaluation dynamic alive. You operate as if still in a job interview, trying to convince him you're the perfect candidate. As long as you act this way, he remains in the evaluator role, verifying whether you are truly everything you claim to be. But when you simply are yourself, without apologies, without bending to his expectations, without changing your core to be more acceptable, you force his mind into a clear choice. Either he accepts you fully as you are and envisions a future with you, or he realizes you are fundamentally incompatible and must be honest about it. This clear binary decision is exactly what allows the true vision of the future to appear, because he can no longer hide behind endless conditional evaluations. The second thing he inevitably does once he sees you as his future is even more revealing, and often unsettles women who don't understand what's happening. He begins including you in the most vulnerable, unpolished aspects of his life. This doesn't only mean introducing you to family or involving you in key social events. It means letting you witness the sides of him he usually hides from everyone, the moments of weakness, the difficult days, the insecurities he spends a lifetime masking with strength and competence. He stops performing for you and simply exists in your presence without filters. When a man is only interested, he maintains a consistent persona. He works to appear strong, confident, capable, and successful, carefully controlling which parts of himself you see. Men often present polished versions of themselves, showing only their strengths and accomplishments. This isn't conscious dishonesty, it's a natural instinct to demonstrate value, signaling they are worthy of attention. But when a man begins to see a woman as his life partner, his mindset shifts from, "I need to impress her," to, "I want to build a life with her." At that point, he realizes he cannot keep up a mask forever. He understands that a long-term relationship requires vulnerability. You need to see who he truly is when defenses drop, when life challenges him, when he's not at his best. More importantly, he needs to know if you will stay when you witness these less heroic sides of him. So, he begins to let you into his vulnerable moments, not as a test, but as a gesture of trust. He shows his anxiety about work, uncertainty in decision-making, hurt from family conflicts, or simply exhaustion from maintaining a controlled image. Every time you witness these moments without judgment, without losing respect or withdrawing emotionally, he feels safer and more confident that you are someone he can truly build a future with. Long-term bonds are not formed through perfection, they are formed through honesty and authenticity. You notice this change when he stops canceling plans just because he's emotionally off. Previously, he might have avoided meeting on tough days to protect his image. Now, he invites you to be there precisely when things are difficult, valuing your presence over entertainment or romance. You see him share financial concerns, fears about the future, or doubts about being a good partner, or someday a father. He stops striving to impress constantly and starts simply being himself, trusting that his real self is enough for you to stay. This vulnerability also appears in how he handles conflicts. When his goal is only to impress, disagreements are threats to his image. He may avoid them or handle them superficially. But when he envisions a shared future, conflicts become opportunities to deepen understanding. He engages in tough conversations, admits mistakes, examines his motivations and habits, because he knows that learning to navigate disagreements healthily is essential for a lasting partnership. He stops defending his ego at the cost of connection and prioritizes the health of the relationship over maintaining a flawless image. And here lies an important paradox true intimacy requires: showing the imperfect self, trusting that love and respect will remain despite vulnerability. A man can only show true vulnerability with you when he senses that you are strong enough to handle it. If every time he opens up you panic, try to fix him, or lose respect for him, he will instinctively retreat, hiding those parts of himself. He knows then that you aren't strong enough to hold space for his full humanity. But when you can witness his vulnerability with compassion, without becoming codependent, without trying to save him from himself, and demonstrate that your love is unwavering in both strength and weakness, he feels safe. He realizes he has found someone with whom he can be fully human. This is one of the rarest, most precious feelings a man can experience, especially in a world that constantly demands he remain invulnerable. The freedom to have bad days, feel fear or insecurity, without it affecting the love you show, is something most men search for their entire lives but rarely find. The third sign he sees you as his future is perhaps the most tangible and noticeable, but often misunderstood. He begins making practical, meaningful changes in his life, not just to accommodate your presence now, but to prepare for your permanent presence in the future. This goes far beyond clearing space in a closet or adjusting his schedule to see you more. These are fundamental changes in the structure of his life, decisions that only make sense if he envisions you as a lasting part of it. He may rethink career choices, considering how they impact a long-term relationship. He might evaluate where he wants to live, not just for personal convenience, but to create an environment suitable for building a life together or eventually a family. He may even change long-standing life patterns, realizing they don't align with the partnership he hopes to build with you. When a man is merely interested, he keeps his life intact and expects you to fit into it. His routines, priorities, and habits remain unchanged. You are simply added as an element to adapt. He doesn't restructure anything, he only creates small spaces for you to participate in the life he already leads. But when he sees you as his future, the reorganization is natural. He doesn't try to fit you into his life, he actively rebuilds his life, assuming you are a permanent part of it. This might mean moving to a larger apartment or a better location, adjusting work schedules to allow for more quality time together, or resolving financial issues he had previously postponed. Now, he approaches these matters through the lens of building a shared foundation, not just for himself. You'll notice it when he starts asking about your preferences on topics that may not seem immediately relevant. Where you'd like to live, what kind of home you imagine, how you'd balance career and family, or your approach to money and financial security. These aren't casual questions. He's gathering information to guide the concrete decisions he is already beginning to make. In his mind, the commitment exists even before it's officially declared. He's simply waiting for the right moment to make his intentions clear. A strong indicator is how he begins discussing money and financial matters. Men who are not thinking long-term usually keep finances private and separate. But when he envisions a future with you, he naturally starts sharing more about his financial situation. Not because you ask, but because he understands that eventually your resources and lives will merge, and he wants you to know what he's contributing. He might bring up investments, retirement plans, or debts he's managing. These conversations are framed in terms of your shared future. Language shifts from "I" to "when are." This is not a romantic gesture, but a genuine reflection of how he's beginning to integrate you into his life and plans. He also starts including you in decisions he could technically make alone. He might seek your opinion on accepting a promotion that requires relocation, consult you before making large purchases, or ask for your perspective on important family matters. He does this not to be polite or to make you feel special, but because he recognizes these decisions will affect both of your lives. Making unilateral choices would be illogical. This inclusion in decision-making is one of the clearest signs that he sees you as a permanent partner rather than a temporary presence. However, many women misinterpret this behavior. Seeing these signs, they may push for formal commitment, demand explicit definitions, or insist on timelines for marriage or status changes. This pressure can backfire, causing him to pull away because the natural progression feels forced. Men need to feel that they are choosing commitment freely, not being rushed into it. When he starts making practical changes in his life and including you in future planning, he is already committing in the ways that matter most. Formal commitments will come naturally in his own time, but only if the process unfolds organically. Masculine timing for formal commitment often differs from feminine timing, and forcing it prematurely can undermine what's being carefully built. The fourth and deepest sign occurs at the level of his identity. When he sees you as his future, you become more than someone he loves. You become a mirror through which he understands himself more deeply. This mirroring fosters greater self-awareness, integration, and wholeness. When you're just someone he loves, you remain external to him, separate from his identity. But when he sees you as his future, you integrate into his vision of life and become part of his self-discovery. He begins to see himself through your eyes. He begins to recognize parts of himself he never noticed simply by observing how you respond to him. He grows and evolves in ways that are only possible because you reflect his inner self back to him with clarity and care. This shows up in specific ways. He may mention that your presence helps him understand himself in ways he never did before. He might express that being with you makes him a better version of himself, not superficially to impress you, but deeply, because the way you see him awakens dormant potentials within him. You may notice him making meaningful changes in who he is, not as an effort to shape himself for you, but as a natural result of interacting with the mirror you provide. If he has struggled to express emotions, but you perceive him as emotionally deep, he may find it easier to connect with and express those feelings because your acceptance has created safety. If he has thought of himself as selfish, yet you recognize his genuine generosity, he may begin acting more generously, triggered by the qualities you helped him see in himself. This process works both ways. You also begin to see yourself through his eyes, evolving in ways only possible through his reflection. It's this mutual dynamic of mirroring and growth that defines relationships with profound depth, relationships that are more than practical partnerships and truly transformational. A clear sign of this when he attributes positive changes in his life to your influence. He may share with others how meeting you changed his perspective, inspired him to pursue abandoned goals, or helped him heal old emotional wounds. He isn't saying this to flatter you or score points. He genuinely acknowledges the transformative impact your presence has had on him. He sees you as a catalyst for growth, someone who accelerates his personal evolution in ways he couldn't achieve alone. When a man realizes you are not just someone he loves, but someone who brings out his true self, he can no longer imagine a future without you. Losing you would not simply mean losing a partner. It would mean losing the mirror that allows him to see himself, the force that accelerates his own journey to becoming who he is meant to be. Such a loss is devastating in a way that goes far beyond romantic longing. It affects the very process of his self-realization. This is the level of integration that occurs when someone truly becomes part of your future, not just an external partner, but woven into the very fabric of who you are and who you are becoming. However, there is one crucial point most women miss, which can unintentionally sabotage everything. These 4 behaviors emerge naturally only when you don't try to force them. When you push him to see you as his future, try to prove you're the right person, or mold yourself into an ideal partner, you block these authentic behaviors from appearing. Because you create a dynamic where he evaluates you instead of truly integrating you. He reacts to your performance rather than responding to your essence. The 4 behaviors that show he sees you as his future only appear when you are fully authentic. So authentically yourself that he has no choice but to recognize who you truly are and decide whether that reality is something he wants to build a life with. The more you try to control his perception, the more you rely on strategies and tactics to make him see you a certain way, the more you risk blocking the possibility that he will genuinely see you and recognize that you are the one he wants to spend his life with. A critical mistake women make when they notice these 4 behaviors emerging is artificially speeding up the process. They see the signs that he is beginning to envision a future with them and immediately push for more concrete commitments, status definitions, timelines, next steps. But this pressure produces the opposite effect. When a man is naturally moving toward committing to you, when he is making practical adjustments, opening up emotionally and integrating you into his life, he needs to feel that he is actively choosing this path. The moment you pressure him, turning it into an expectation or demand, you remove his sense of active choice. Men cannot fully commit when they feel forced, even subtly, even if it comes disguised as a valid emotional need. Commitment must arise from their own will, in their own time, feeling like they are pursuing what they want rather than being caught by what wants them. So, when you notice these 4 behaviors, he stops evaluating you, he allows vulnerability, he makes practical life changes, he thinks of you together, and he sees you as a mirror helping him become more himself. The most important action is simply to allow. Let the process unfold naturally. Let him reach his own conclusions in his own time. Let the recognition that you are his future happen organically rather than being artificially accelerated. To maintain this space of permission without anxiety, you must be fully grounded in your own completeness. You shouldn't desperately need his confirmation that you are the future. Instead, build your own future so magnificently that being part of his life is wonderful, but not essential for your happiness and fulfillment. This brings us to the central paradox, the secret few understand about how the divine masculine decides to see you as his future. He can only see you this way when you already have a future so vibrant and abundant without him. Being with you means joining something extraordinary that is already unfolding, not starting something from scratch. Men do not want to be someone's entire future. They want to be part of a future that is already remarkable and becomes even more remarkable with their participation. When you wait for him to define your future, when your life is paused until he decides if he wants you, or when all your plans depend on his actions, you aren't offering him a future to join. You're offering a blank page for him to write on. And men aren't drawn to blank pages when it comes to long-term commitment. They're drawn to stories already in motion, epic lives they want to be a part of. The most effective way to make the divine masculine see you as his future isn't by convincing him to include you in his plans. It's by creating a future so extraordinary for yourself that he can't imagine not being part of it. Be so committed to your own dreams, so dedicated to your growth, so passionate about the life you're building, that he thinks, not, I could build a life with her, but I need to be part of the incredible life she's already building. When you operate from wholeness and purpose, radiating the energy of someone whose future is secure with or without a romantic partner, the 4 behaviors that show he sees you as his future appear naturally. You become the type of person conscious men want to build with, not because you're perfect, but because you're complete, authentic, and committed to your own greatness in ways that don't rely on his validation. If you recognize some of these patterns in your dynamic and notice he's showing one or more of these 4 behaviors, you're at a pivotal moment. The urge to rush, push, or try to secure his commitment is strong. Resist it. Continue being yourself, building your future magnificently, and allowing him to reach his conclusions in his own time. If he hasn't shown any of these behaviors yet, if he's still evaluating you instead of integrating you, keeping masks up instead of being vulnerable, fitting you into his life instead of reshaping it, or seeing you as separate instead of as a mirror to help him know himself, then this is valuable information. He doesn't see you as his future yet, at least not in the way you want. With this clarity, you can consciously decide whether to continue investing emotional energy in this connection or redirect it to your own life, leaving space for someone ready to see you as their future from the start. Ultimately, you can't make someone see you as their future. You can't convince, manipulate, or strategize your way into being the person they want to spend their life with. All you can do is be magnificently yourself, fully committed to your evolution and passionate about your life, so that only a man ready for a real future can see you clearly. When the right man, at the right time, with the right maturity truly sees you, the 4 behaviors signaling he sees you as his future will emerge naturally, effortlessly. Without games or manipulation, he'll stop evaluating because you've become the standard. He'll allow vulnerability because you can hold space for his complete humanity. He'll make practical changes because he can no longer imagine a future without you. And he'll see you as a mirror reflecting his divine potential that was always there but needed your eyes to recognize it. If this video helped you understand that your role isn't to convince him, but to build a future so incredible he can't help but want to be part of it, write in the comments, I am my own future. This affirmation isn't just words. It's a declaration that you understand the only way to be seen as someone's future is by being someone who already has a guaranteed future, regardless of who stands beside you. If you want practical tools to establish yourself in this frequency of wholeness and purpose, naturally attracting men ready for real commitment, I have resources to support you deeply. The ebooks 21 Days of Transformation with Carl Jung and the Survival Manual for Difficult Days. Links are in the first pinned comment. Thank you for having the courage to face these truths, even when they challenge everything you believed about making someone see you as a future partner. True love isn't built on need or pursuit. It's built on two complete people choosing to create something greater together. You are already complete, extraordinary, and exactly what the right man is looking for. Stop trying to prove it, and simply live the truth so powerfully that he has no choice but to recognize it. See you in the next video.